Welcome back, guys. This is part two, the reading. Okay, we're getting into the Lord of the Flies, chapter 7 recap. You're going to answer these questions. If you missed it, go back to the last video. I gave a recap on chapter 7. So you're going to put the evidence as to who has the power on the island. One, evidence two, and then right now, do you think Rousseau's vision of humanity, which is man is born free, but everywhere he's in chains, or Hobbes' vision of humanity, the condition of man is the condition of war, is a condition of war of everyone against everyone, is more true for the boys on the island? So which of these viewpoints is your definition of the nature of man? Then we're going to get into the reading. We're going to be reading the PDF from pages 143 to 153. Our vocabulary words are tremulous, shaking because you're nervous, tremulous, you're trembling, excuse me, jeer, to insult or to make fun out of, out to jeer, excuse me, to insult or make fun of out loud, to babble, speaking in a silly way, catastrophe, complete and total disaster. These are the questions that we're going to be doing during reading. How is the assembly different from the previous assemblies? You're going to underline and put a triangle or just a note next to the line that compares Ralph to Piggy. Okay, we're going to go over that, and I have it underlined, so I need you to pay attention. Why does Jack compare Ralph to Piggy? What do the boys vote for, and what is the result of the vote? What do the boys do that lifted their moods? And write 3 things that the boys discover when they are done with their task. And then after reading, you're going to do these questions, and then we're done. Jumping right into the reading. Chapter 8, The Gift of Darkness. Piggy looked up miserably from the dawn-pale beach to the dark mountain. Are you sure? Really sure? I told you a dozen times, said Ralph. We saw it. Do you think we're safe down here? How the hell should I know? Ralph jerked away from him and walked a few paces along the beach. Jack was kneeling and drawing a circular pattern in the sand with his forefinger. Piggy's voice came to them, hushed. Are you sure? Really? Go up and see, said Jack contemptuously, and good riddance. No fear. Okay, theme, fear. How does this impact the rules and their instincts? Spelled that wrong, but we'll fix that later. The beast had teeth, said Ralph, and big black eyes. He shuddered violently. Piggy took off his one round of glasses and polished the surface. What are we going to do? Okay, big symbol here. He takes off the glasses, shines it up, polishes it, trying to get an inspiration of the intelligent thing to do. The glasses represent intelligence. Ralph turned towards the platform. The conch glimmered among the trees, a white blob against the place where the sun would rise. He pushed back his mop. I don't know. He remembered the panic flight down the mountainside. I don't think we'll ever fight a thing that size, honestly, you know? We talk, but we wouldn't fight a tiger. We'd hide. Even Jack would hide. Jack still looked at the sand. What about my hunters? Simon came stealing out of the shadows by the shelter. Ralph ignored Jack's question. He pointed to the touch of yellow above the sea. As long as there's light, we'll be brave enough. But then, and now that thing squats by the fire as though it didn't want us to be rescued. So here we have symbol, light, fire, the sun. What does it represent? He was twisting his hands now, unconsciously. His voice rose. So we can't hide a signifier. We're beaten. Symbols. What does the fire represent again? A point of gold appeared above the sea, and at once all the sky lightened. What about my hunters? Boys armed with sticks? Jack got to his feet. His face was red as he marched away. Piggy put on his one glass and looked at Ralph. So how is Jack feeling right now? Now you've done it. You've been rude about his hunters. Oh, shut up. The sound of the inexorably blown conch interrupted them, as though he were serenading the rising sun. Another reference to the sun and light. Jack went on blowing till the shelters were astir, and the hunters crept to the platform, and the little ones whimpered as now they so frequently did. Ralph rose obediently, and Piggy and they went to the platform. Talk, said Ralph bitterly. Talk, talk, talk. He took the conch from Jack. This meeting, Jack interrupted him. Okay, so here, the breaking of the rules of the conch. The conch, if whoever had the conch is the only one allowed to speak. I called it. If you hadn't called it, I should have. You just blew the conch. Well, isn't that calling it? Oh, take it. Go on, talk. Ralph thrust the conch back into Jack's arms and sat down on the trunk. I've called an assembly, said Jack, because a lot of things. First, you know now, we've seen the beast. We crawled up. We were only a few feet away. The beast sat up and looked at us. I don't know what it does. We don't even know what it is. The beast comes out of the sea, out of the dark. Trees? Quiet, shouted Jack. You listen. The beast is sitting up there, whatever it is. Perhaps it's waiting, hunting. Yes, hunting. Hunting, said Jack. He remembered his age old tremors in the forest. Yes, the beast is a hunter. Only shut up. The next thing is that we couldn't kill it, and the next is that Ralph said my hunters are no good. I never said that. I've got the conch. Ralph thinks you're cowards running away from the boar and the beast, and that's not all. There was a kind of sigh on the platform, as if everyone knew what was coming. Jack's voice went up, tremulous, our vocabulary word, yet determined, pushing against the uncooperative silence. He's like Piggy. He says things like Piggy. He isn't a proper chief. Jack clutched the conch to himself. He's a coward himself. Okay, so here's the part in our questions where you're going to, it says underline, and then you're going to explain. So I've done that for you. If you're watching the video, you got a clue. For a moment, he paused, then went on. On top, when Roger and me went on, he stayed back. I went too. After, the two boys glared at each other through screens of hair. I went on too, said Ralph. Then I ran away. So did you. Call me a coward then? Jack turned to the hunters. He's not a hunter. He never got us meat. He isn't a perfect, and we don't know anything about him. He just gives orders and expects people to obey for nothing. All this talk. All this talk, Ralph shouted. Talk, talk. Who wanted it? Who called this meeting? Jack turned red in the face. His chin sunk back. He glowered up his eyebrows. All right, then, he said in tones of deep meaning and menace. All right. He held the conch against his chest, with one hand stabbed in the air with his index finger. Who thinks Ralph oughtn't to be chief? So here, this is Jack's claim for power. So this is the struggle, the conflict. We're coming to the climax where Jack and Ralph are again struggling for power. Power being another main theme. He looked expectantly at the boys ranged round who had frozen. Under the palms there was dead silence. Hands up, said Jack strongly. Whoever wants Ralph not to be chief? Hands up, said Jack strongly. Whoever wants Ralph not to be chief. So he was looking for a response from the boys. So here is the difference between what they're thinking and what they actually do. Pay close attention. The silence continued, breathless and heavy and full of shame. Slowly the red drained from Jack's cheeks, then came back with a painful rush. He licked his lips and turned his head at an angle. Excuse me. Had to take a sip. How many think? His voice tailed off. The hands that held the conch shook. He cleared his throat and spoke loudly. All right, then. He laid the conch with great care in the grass of his feet. The humiliating tears were running from the corner of each eye. You gotta remember, they're still boys here. They're still young. They're still all in their feelings. They don't know how to deal with this newfound power and the responsibility that they have. I'm not going to play any longer, not with you. So he's kicking up dirt. He's like Darth Vader, as when he was a young boy, just a whiny little boy. But he has that dark side power like Darth Vader. Most of the boys were looking down now at the grass or their feet. Jack cleared his throat again. I'm not going to be a part of Ralph's lot. He looked along the right hand logs, numbering the hunters that had been a choir. I'm going off by myself. He can catch his own pigs. Anyone who wants to hunt when I do can come too. He blundered out of the triangle towards the drop of the white sand. Jack! Jack turned and looked back at Ralph. For a moment, he paused and cried out high pitched anger. No. We're going to stop there for today. You're going to continue reading until page 153. For now, you should have a good feel for what is happening in the story. And I'll see you guys on the next go round. Have a great weekend. See you guys on Monday.